Good morning. Hi, my name's Dee, and welcome to our YouTube channel at Southwest Coaching, where we have bite-sized tools and techniques for coaches. So if you are a coach, which I'm hoping you probably are, then just to say you're welcome to join our free coaching community where we give you free support. We can help you grow your business. There's tools and techniques, there's discussions, there's informal supervision, etc., etc. So don't be isolated, don't be alone. Come and join us. We'd love to see you. So today we're going to talk about one of the coaching models, which is the CLEAR model. So this was devised by a chap called Professor Peter Hawkins back in 1979, and originally it was produced to be a coaching supervision model. However, with time, it was recognised that it could be really useful for coaching conversations as well. So lots of focus is made on the GROW model in coaching and Oscar, and there are others out there. But today we're going to talk about CLEAR. CLEAR is an acronym, and the first C stands for contracting. We're not going to spend a massive time on contracting today because we're going to be talking about using the CLEAR model in a coaching conversation. So this is on the basis that you'd have your contracting done, you would have gone through your framework of how you work together, your confidentiality, your boundaries, your expectations, what sort of psychological contracts you have, your logistics of working together, how you need to be as a coach, their learning styles, etc. So all that we're thinking has been taken into account already. So the contracting for the session is around the time you have together, what the expectations are, what sort of outcomes they would like by the end of the session, what's the topic that they're bringing to discuss, and those sorts of things. So really using the C, if you like, also as a clarifying process for the session that you're going to have together, and also the contracting for in session, just so that you've got a safe framework to work together in that space. Then we go on to L. So the L stands for listening. As a coach, we're using our real global listening. So we're listening to understand. We're making the use of silence so that people can fill that silence and help themselves give more information, and we can gather more information. We may be summarizing and paraphrasing. We are listening out for what's not being said. So, really keeping a close eye on body language. Is it congruent with what they're saying? And also giving that space, because when people are able to verbalize things, some people think externally. So it's not until they hear themselves talking about something that they can gain real clarity. And other people think internally and they go very quiet and back inside themselves to make sense of what they're thinking about. So really giving that space for them to be able to talk out loud about what's going on. Maybe using some of their own words, etc., and recognizing for yourself what assumptions you're hearing and what judgments you're making, because we're told not to judge in coaching. We can't not judge. We are all human beings. Judgments are there. It's more important about how are we managing our own judgments and what are we doing with them in that process, and are there useful data to assess the session for the person in front of us. So really listening to for us to gain clarity, for listening out for patterns and things that are going on, and equally allowing them to hear themselves so they can help gain some clarity in that space. The E for exploring. So this is a lovely part, and where it slightly differs from grow, which can sometimes be seen as quite a transactional model. Although feelings are there, this model specifically talks about exploring the feelings and the emotion that's going on for somebody. And this is an interesting space because, especially for newly qualified coaches, it might be, am I going into territory that's getting a bit close to the boundary of counselling? Is somebody going to start crying? How do I manage that? What sort of feelings are around this? So as you gain more experience, you'll feel more confident in that it's okay for people to explore feelings, but obviously go with where you're comfortable and where your competencies lie. This isn't about getting into a counselling session, but it is important for people to be able to express how they feel about something. We know that emotion is always stronger than logic. So if you're not addressing people's feelings, if they're not allowed to be acknowledged, it's going to be very difficult for them to logically move through a process. So exploring feelings is where this model really comes into its own. And there might be questions that you're asking to help the person explore different elements, explore different people that this is related to the system that they're in, and to their own system, and different sort of frameworks, what's worked already, and what options they have thought about already. So really exploring that space. And I'm going to put some questions up as we go through. And then we move on to actions. So thinking about, what sort of things, just like the grow, what sort of things might help you move this incrementally forward? What sort of things have you thought about already? What are you drawn towards out of everything that you've spoken about? What might be most helpful for you? What would you be doing if there weren't any consequences? What would you be doing if you weren't afraid? These sort of types of questions. What would you be doing if you had a magic wand? Questions that you'll be used to asking as a coach, but really helping people get an objective view about what might happen, and then they can work out about how they might be able to move it forward. So what would be a next step? What resources may you need? Who else might you need to involve? What are the pros and cons of taking this action? Who else might it impact, for example? And so out of all of that, what is one incremental small step that you can take forward from the conversation we've had? And then we get into the review session. So what insights have you gained from having this conversation? What are you going to do by when, as in terms of taking that action forward? What's been helpful to you? What takeaways do you need to think about and reflect upon? What behavior might you be doing differently? And then obviously as part of your coaching session, you'd be reviewing your feedbacks in terms of, how you've been as a coach, what feedback they might like to give you, etc. So reviewing the session you've had together, and also you can be part of the review, can be part of the journey that they're on if you're in regular coaching sessions. So that's a quick whistle-stop tour of the CLEAR model. And I appreciate there are lots of other questions and we can go deeper into each area. So feel free to add any on the chat that might be helpful for each other. I get that, but I hope that's been helpful. It's an easy model to hold in your head. Some people do have a preference towards it because of the exploring feelings part. And there we are. Enjoy using it, and best of luck.